Barbara and Angela, they're cousins, and their families have been in this area for over 150 years.
I'm fourth generation in Champaign.
I grew up in Champaign on East White Street. That was the Suggs kids' territory.
It was during, of course, the Korean War, and my father was over in Korea.
It was an integrated area. Even when my dad moved there in the mid-30s with his mother.
I went to Lincoln, then I spent a year at Gregory before moving on to Edison Junior High School. From Edison, I went to Central, and from Central, I went to University of Illinois.
Marquette School it was kind of a mixture. It was an integrated school when I started. It resegregated by the time I got to 6th grade. Great teacher in Mary Frances Walden. Mary Frances Walden was an African-American woman who I had for both 3rd and 4th grade. She taught me a love of history, a love of reading. She had high expectations for our kids in the class. These are world-class teachers. They made such a difference in my life. They motivated me. They saw my talent and they encouraged me. I developed a love of music and I knew what I wanted to be, and that was a singer.
Well, I started thinking about art and being an artist when I was very young. By the time I was 7, I knew that's what I wanted to be. My grandmother liked art. She wanted to be an artist. Her grandmother who raised her didn't want her to be an artist because she said artists were hussies. I wanted to be a painter, so I decided to work on my master's in art education. I finished everything except for my student teaching. Me and the lady who was over me in the classroom really didn't see that much eye to eye, and she failed me in it. I was approached by Eastern Illinois University, and they wanted to do something in African American art down there. And I taught that for about 8 years while I was working on my master's down there. In the interim, I got a job at the DeSable Museum up in Chicago. So I went up there still working on my thesis and stuff. And then I got a new person that was head of my committee, and they wanted me to totally rewrite the thesis. Well, in order to do it within the time frame, I would have to let go of my job. And I had a daughter to raise, and I had to make that hard decision. And the decision was I had to keep my job. It was interesting because of that thesis, I was able to work at the Art Institute, as a full-time consultant and as a consultant basis afterwards.
I applied to Northwestern. Went there as a music major. My dad said, get a teaching certificate, and I did, and got my master's degree at U of I in music education. And from there, they placed me in Oak Park. And from there, I got the opportunity to go to Europe. I learned so much, not just about music, but about life. I wanted to bring world-class education to the south suburbs for those Black and brown kids. It was great to have an impact as a music teacher, but I wanted to have a bigger impact. So I started developing curriculum and programs, looking at data, targeting those students who needed improvement, and that was my great love. So I'm a great example, I think, of a lifelong learner because I never finished my doctorate degree. I got the university, I got their permission to re-enter and to finish it, and I did.
I'm Jane DeLuz and President and CEO of Experience Champaign-Urbana. I reached out to Barbara and to Angela and said, would you consider co-chairing this Champaign County African American Heritage Trail? And that's how we started working together. They are doing it to preserve a rich history of stories that have been untold, but yet have shaped our community.
For me, one of the things I realized how important that history needs to continue is while I was working in the museums and stuff, because a lot of times you ask them about history and they really don't know. You know, there's a little tidbit here, a little tidbit there.
I knew that history because not just oral history, but my grandmothers on both sides had saved letters and articles and pictures. That kind of history was never taught. And I loved history. And I think if we look at that history, we can learn a lot that helps us understand why we are where we are today in this community.
We are working on curriculum that will be at least in the Champaign and Urbana and Rand Tool schools. And so being able to learn that in the classroom is going to be an amazing legacy for tomorrow's adults, tomorrow's members of society.
The African American Heritage Trail, one of the things I want to see in it is that there's a sense of pride, community pride, but more importantly, personal pride. Personal pride that will give them the sense that they can do anything they want to do, that they can move forward and become anybody they want to become. It's about those markers that we are putting out, that they can visually see those markers, they can visually read those markers, they can touch those markers.
Young people today are creating tomorrow's history, and they need to know how important that is and how impactful that will be in shaping our community.
It's wonderful to be recognized by the community. It's an honor. I'm humbled by it. I really am.
It was kind of surprising, you know, that somebody would want to say that, you know, I was a distinguished individual.
And I want to make sure that this is a community that continues to be that place where kids can grow up and feel safe and be well educated and feel good about themselves and who they are.